Testing.
Okay, we are live. Today is Wednesday,
November the 13th.
November the 13th.
Hey, I got that right.
You got that right. And I am Del Carson. I'm interviewing my first cousin once removed, Clarence Carson. Clarence,
Yeah.
what's your middle name?
Oh, I know, not that. It's worse than the first.
Okay.
It's Claude.
Claude. Oh, that's right. I remember that.
That's what I calls mudhole.
All right. Very good. Clarence, when were you born?
I was born right out there in the country, about half a mile from where you live.
Well, I'm aware of that. What was the date, though?
It was the William Carson place.
No, the date you were
Oh,
born.
the date I was born, that was July 5, 23. Way back.
Yeah, and you were born out there on Quaker Church Road, what has since become the Pearson Farm, and well, now nobody's living there. It's vacant. Can you tell me what was your earliest memory?
My earliest memory, whoa. I've got to think of that. Well, I do kind of remember my sister Ruth being as she always thought I was a cat's meow, because she was 12 years older than I, and of course that made her boss, and right under Mom, of course. And that's my earliest memory. She liked me. She always did. She called me Peanut because I was just a little twerp.
Now you were the youngest of how many?
5.
5. All right. Well, going down the list, starting with the oldest, who were your siblings?
Ruth was 12 when I was born. Alan would have been 9 when I was born. Eve would have been she's 5 years older than me. That would have made her born in 18, I guess.
Okay.
And Craig was born in 21, January the 8th.
So he was 2 years older than you.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
And then I popped in July 5, 23.
July 5th. That happens to be our anniversary. Anyway, what is your most impressionable memory of your parents?
Impressionable?
Yes.
Well, I would have to say that, I would have to say that I loved them, and especially my mother, but they were firm. When they spoke, you jumped up and said, "Yes, ma'am," or "Sir." No, that's a little bit strange right there, but no, you obeyed, or else.
Old school.
You know the old or else.
Yes, sir.
I used it a lot. But they were good parents, and of course it was coming up Depression time there, and we had a lot of work to do. Of course, as we grew, more to be done on the farm, and it seemed like I was the one popped up there too much, because I was one always out with the horses. And I might as well tell this little tale. The time I was mowing hay, nice alfalfa hay, and it was right up above the house, and also right up there was our orchard. So I'd come around there when it's time to rest the horses, pulled 6 peaches ripe off of a peach tree there. It was white uh, peach, seedless, not seedless, but they popped out right.
Freestone.
Yeah, and I ate 6, and I pulled that stone 3 times that morning. Now you'll figure that one out. That made 18 peaches. Okay, that was fine. But they done there, went into lunch. I ate lunch. And I have no memories of any repercussions off that at all. But it was a nice tale.
Oh, I could imagine.
And it was very good, very good day.
Tell me about your grandparents. Who were your grandparents, and what do you remember the most about them?
Oh, I shouldn't say this. Now, my grandmother, she was the best. My granddad had worked on the railroad, and well, of course, it was a time when you didn't get much pension or anything like that.
No, first of all, was this on your mom's side?
Yeah.
Your maternal grandparents, okay.
Oh.
And so he was cranky. He was just like me. And
No.
that's all I can remember, really, about him. I can't say that I like him, although certainly he was a good grandparent.
What was his name?
Benjamin Seaver, S-E-V-E-R-E, I believe. Hall, H-A-L-L. And anyway, he lived to be just right around the age I am now. I'm not sure how old he was as far as that's concerned. He died 1945, just right around the end of the year. And of course, he's buried up at Johnson's Chapel, along with my grandmother too.
Where is Johnson's Chapel? Where is that, Johnson's Chapel?
That's up above a high pile,
Okay.
up there past Sugarloaf Mountain. And it's out there about 8 or 9 miles from.
So they were from that area?
Oh yeah, Mom and my mother was born up there, made a run, I think, right up above our pile. And so naturally we were up there for a little bit.
What was your mom's first name?
Maud.
Maud, yes.
No, her first name was Herma, H-E-R-M-A, Herma Maud Hall. Carson.
What about the grandparents on the Williams side?
Well, my grandmother named her. I never knew my granddad because he died before my dad was married, and also your dad.
That would have been Alan, right?
Mine was Bill.
No, your granddad.
Oh yeah, it was old Al. What they called
Alan.
old Al Carson.
Right.
I think
He was Squire, wasn't he? Didn't they refer to him as Squire?
I'm not sure about that. I think
one of them was referred to as Squire. I don't know whether it was Allen or Samuel Allen, but Samuel Allen would have been his father, right?
Samuel Allen.
Samuel Allen, Allen, and then in your line, William, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the correct progression?
Oh, you know more about him than I do.
No, well, I just want to make sure I'm clear on it.
I think you're right. Because I'm really not I don't know why. My grandmother Hall lived up there where we called home, right across the street with my grandma Carson. We lived over Grandma Hall, and we hardly knew Grandma Carson at all. And she was the nicest person you ever want to see. Emma Luce Carson was her name. And she was a good enough mother. I know that. Must have been. She bring up my dad and yours, granddad. But I don't know. I've often since felt really bad by the fact that we lived here with Grandma Paul. We was there all the time. Right across the street was the other grandmother, and we hardly knew her because we just never went over there. And, well, I have a conscience about things like that, and I don't know whether anyone else does or not, but I really feel bad about that.
And you never understood why. Of course, it was out of your control, right? It was.
Well, well, even after we grew up,
Uh-huh.
we were never over there. I do believe that Aunt Edna Blair, Carson Blair, of course, she was kind of a domineering person, and you didn't ever want to be seen even with a person of the opposite sex. You were going to get teased. Of course, that's not too good. But anyway, we just didn't spend much time over there.
You told me before a little bit about your siblings. Can you tell me a little bit about specific childhood memories of your siblings?
Uh, well, after got to be a little bit older, of course, we played softball there on that hill every day in the decent weather. And we played what you might call rolly hit the bat. That's what we always called it, because the idea was to either catch the ball on the fly, then you could go right in the bat. But if you catch it on first bounce, well, that's just another story. Or if you picked it up off the ground, you roll it toward the bat. If you hit the bat, good. Well, we also soon learned to do that, you gotta roll her up around the hill, or you're gonna miss it. But we got pretty good at that too. And of course, Alan, my dad, Craig, and I, and Ave, when she was able, was out there playing softball all summer. Lunchtime, we'd come in for a little while, eat our meal, and play softball for half an hour or something like that, and then go back out and farm. And from the time I was about, 12 or 15, I really don't know, I was the gentleman that got the horse bit work. Come plowing, I did the plowing. Come harrowing, I did the harrowing. Come slabbing, we call it, was whatever was around that.
Sure.
I did that. And then we got a disc, and I also got that job. Also, I got cutting hay. I got out of other work anyway. That's what I was doing today with the peaches. But well, that's about the story of it. Though. I was the one doing the actual farm work.
Now, did you like that work better than other aspects of farming? And when you're
Well,
behind the
I
horse,
like.
that's one thing. You're kind of riding.
Now, well, yeah, of course. Later we got a riding mower even, but the horse is still pulled it. And because our farm there, basically right above the barn, was rather steep, and my dad was a little leery about putting a tractor on there for fear he upset it. So we stuck with horses, and well, it's a little bit slower. It's an awful lot slower, but I'm thinking. Anyway, I got most of that. I did plow. Now Craig helped me there a lot with the hand plow. That runs into work very shortly.
Sure does.
But once we got the riding mower, riding plow. I got most of it, and the other work too. But then I got to cut the hay. I got to rake the hay, while the other one did the handwork with the hay.
Mm-hmm.
So
You made out on that deal, huh?
I made out on that deal pretty well.
Did you ever have the horses get away from you?
No, I know your dad did.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Granddad, I guess it was. No, that was your granddad. Uh-huh. Tongue shouldn't have broken on that rake. That just shouldn't have happened. But it did, and the horse took off, and he was right down under the rake.
Wow.
And
Who was under the rake?
The horse.
yeah,
Oh,
they took off, of course, when that
Tongue
tongue
broke.
broke down.
Tongue
Yeah.
broke, right?
It broke off back close to the rake. So they took off, and of course that rake was bouncing along, and he was in there right in among the,
Teeth?
yeah. And I don't know how much he was hurt there, but I know he was scared and everybody else was. But anyway, he got the horse to stop finally, or they slowed down. And well, that took care of that. He was all right, but I'm sure he was some bruised and
how many horses did you have? How many horses?
well, each of us had two, a team horses.
Each of you.
He's
So,
talking about my granddad.
oh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
So anyway, when
The accident he's referring to happened on our place, actually, publicly. I heard that even made the newspaper. That accident even was in the newspaper at the time.
oh, well,
That's what
possibly.
my dad told me.
But I wasn't reading newspapers too much then. Yeah, but I did know about it.
Hey, can you tell them the story about Uncle John plowing and singing?
Oh my yes, I remember that. Of course, you know how far apart actually the farms are.
I sure
there.
do.
About a half a mile.
Sure.
And he would be singing, mowing hay or plowing or anything. He had the team of horses, Charlie and Kate, and you'd hear him up there singing away, bringing in the sheep, bringing in the sheep, something like that. And then, come on, you great son of a... right out of it and right back into singing, bringing in the sheaves. Or some
You know,
other
that tends to
hymn.
run in the family. What were the names of your horses? Your horse team. What was their names? Do you remember?
At that time, it was Frank and Bell. And they were both... No, Frank was a gray. Bell was a bay. And they were a good enough team. But somehow or another, Frank, I think I know what it was. One time, my dad had used your dad's wagon, your granddad's, and got a load of coal, and pulling that coal up our lawn to get it into the house. It must have pulled that horse's eyes too hard because he went blind. And he was blind then for several years before, well, got to the point where they just had to finish it. But then we got another horse to go along with Bell, and I cannot remember that one. But I do remember one morning, went up to the barn, and that was the old barn up there.
Sure.
And there was an old bell laying out there at the end of the barn, better than the doornail. So, I really can't remember. I don't think they buried her. They must have called somebody to come, get her. And, of course, then we had to buy another horse, and I forget that was the name too. I sometimes think I get ahead of myself when I just try to catch up. But, of course, you know probably the story about Charlie and Kate.
Do tell.
Anyway, one morning, your granddad come down home and said, Charlie kicked Kate and broke her leg. You're going to have to, shoot her. But he didn't want to do it. He couldn't do it. So my dad had to go up and do it. And he didn't like that too well either as far as that's concerned. But they did. And they, of course, then they used Charlie to drag her down the field there, down below that spring, down below there. And that's where we got our water. And buried her there. And that took a big hole, of course, to put a horse in. But I didn't have anything to do with any of it, except I knew what happened.
Sure.
And, of course, every time we went up there to get water, right there below the spring, the horse grave, and we knew it probably still a depression in the ground there. I don't know.
I think there is, actually. I think I know exactly where that is.
I don't think it'd be over 100 feet below that spring.
Right.
And, well, that was kind of a sad situation there. But then he got another horse, Stump. You ever heard of him?
No, I can't say that I have.
He was a big, heavy pulling horse. So he and Charlie had to go to work together. And, well, Stump was a good horse. But I caught him one time when the two teams were together cutting wheat or oats. And Stump, I was right there where I could see him. And Stump was just prancing along there like he was pulling the whole thing. And his traces were sagging. He wasn't doing anything. He was just dancing. He was pulling faster than on them there. And then, of course, the other horse, whatever his name was then, I don't know. But R2 and it were doing all the work. But then I remember another time, too. We had, well, this is much later, Bill and Tom and Bill. And that Bill was a working horse. Tom was a slacking horse. As always, almost always got that type. But anyway, we were hauling a load of hay up to the old barn there from up on the hill above our house, and got up to the top of the hill there and on up above where I could kind of circle and come down into the barn. Well, they were coming up around there, and Bill was pulling, and I noticed that Tom was slacking. His red traces were sagging away. I happened to be standing there with a pitchfork, and I punched it into his shoulder and drew blood. He pulled the rest of the way in, though. Yeah, because one horse pulling a load of hay uphill doesn't work too well.
No. Do you remember harvest days when they'd come in to harvest the wheat or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me a little about that.
Well, of course, that was always the case of four horses working together. And your dad rode Stump, well, when he was there. And my dad worked machinery, riding, of course. And they would run, cutting the wheat, cutting the oats, and then, of course, it would kick it out in sheaves. And then, well, the horses did the pulling. Your dad and my dad did the setting. And Alan, when he was there, he was already old enough, though. He had other jobs part of the time. If the three of us were there, Alan and Craig and I would do the chalking. And it's a fair-sized little job. Of course, the sheaves, they come out, and there was a catcher there to hold them and dump them in a line, you know. So we didn't have to pick them up from all over creation. But that was a pretty good job, and we could always depend on getting a good case of poison ivy because the edge of the fields was always ivy.
Sure. The sheaves, were they tied when they came out of the binder?
Oh, yeah.
They were tied.
Yeah,
so you picked them up.
It had
and
a
threw them on
tire
the wagon.
right there, and it tied it.
Your job was pick them up, put them on the wagon, or
yeah,
somebody else's
just
job.
pitch them on.
Yeah.
And they were handy to use getting them loaded, getting them in the barn, toss them up there, something, not like doing hay.
Right.
I do remember another little tale about Kate. She was the one, you know, that maybe you've seen it, probably still there, the fork.
Oh, yes. The
fork about that wide.
Yep.
And maybe that high,
right.
Something like that. They'd bring a load of hay in, shove that fork down into the load of hay, and then Kate was hitched up to a rope she knew. She walked out, pulling that load of hay up. Whenever it hit the track up there to run over, she knew the time she'd turn around. She wouldn't get tripped in the line. She wouldn't get the line curled up or anything else. She went down and around so that she's down there ready for the next load. And she knew what she was doing. And she was good at that.
Kate, was that our horse? Was that John's horse?
Pardon?
Whose horse was Kate? Was that John's?
Yeah.
That's what
Kate and Charlie.
Yeah. And then later they got a horse named Belle as well. I can remember Kate and Belle.
We had a Pete, I think.
Go through a lot of horses, huh?
Yes.
Over the span.
Betwixt the two of us, two of you and me.
When was it that you guys actually moved from the Quaker Church location away?
The what?
From the Pearson place. From the farm. When did you move from the farm?
My dad or?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Uh,
When did the Carsons leave that farm? That's the question I have.
Oh, when they left it.
Yes.
Well, that was in 1954, after Lois and I had moved here. We moved here in 53. And of course that left Ave and Craig out there. Ave had a job. I think she was working in the post office even then. And Craig had got another job down in Florida. And of course that left my dad with nobody on the farm. And you just don't do that. So in '54, 1 year later, is when they moved to town.
They just sold the farm outright at that
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's when the Pearsons bought it,
Yeah,
I guess.
and Pearson got it, and boy, he let her go.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
How is it? What's that house look like now?
I have not been in that house for about, since Thelma died, 5 years ago at least.
They really made it very nice for Thelma.
But the
last-
farm itself is just falling apart. I mean, they haven't done anything.
Horrible.
Nothing. And you know
I-
what happens to ground when nothing is done.
Yeah, I know. Oh, years and years ago, when Tom and Thelma had the farm, and of course he did nothing to amount to anything at all. He did have a few cattle, and I don't know anything else that he did. But one time Craig and I walked out there, went in from the back end up there where the
Right.
stone quarry was.
Right. Tony Rowe Road.
And walked down around to the barn. And of course the barn was already burned down at that time. So he picked up a board, about that long, nice 12-inch board, had been on the end there right under the granary. And I picked up one too. And we carried him up around. And when we'd been coming down through to get there, down in the field there where we had plowed and cut hay and cut wheat and cut oats and everything else, there were trees growing that big around already. It must be nothing but a forest up there now.
It more or less is. You're right. And even the areas that Pearsons had used as hay fields, they haven't grown anything in them for years now.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh,
they're
sure.
all grown up. I mean, that's just what happens to
Is
land.
anybody there?
Yeah. Nobody's there. Nobody's been there for at least 5 years, at least.
Uh-huh. Because there's Tom and
Thelma. Oh, the kids,
Yeah.
Tom and Tim.
yeah, Tom.
Tommy and Timmy, and there was the third
He
one,
lives
Tommy.
up Uniontown, or did. And Tim, I think, lives out in Ohio somewhere.
Yes, yes.
And but that was a sad place there. This time when he was walking down through these forests, there laid a dead cow. And the last time we'd been up through there, 5 or 6 or 8 years before, there laid a dead cow. Still there, but pretty well gone
I would think
by
so.
that time.
Over a 5-year period.
Yeah, that's not even a good tale to tell.
Oh, that's okay. Who were your friends growing up?
My friends,
Yes, outside of family members.
actually, I wouldn't honestly say that I didn't have any what you call, well, yes, Lois's brother, Craig, and I were pretty good friends, but that's about the only one. Because I was out there on the farm, and the other kids were they're playing softball all summer and that kind of stuff. So, but I remember their little tale too. I'd been playing softball all summer, and I got to catch the ball pretty good. So when it comes to playing ball up at school, I think it was Bill Baker did the pitching. He was the principal.
Right, I remember him.
And of course, it had picked up ball team there. Of course, I was never on it, but did work out on the field, you know. And whenever the kids would deliberately hit the ball where they wanted it to go, it came out toward me because they figured he can't catch that thing. I got a good hit. Well, I fooled them. After I'd finished on the farm all summer and playing ball all evening, every evening. They knocked the ball out there. I caught her. Hit another one out there. I caught it. From there on, they hit it somewhere else.
Hey, this was at Star Junction Elementary Playground you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Star Junction? It wasn't
No,
Star
it was
Junction.
right behind, well, the old high school building. Down over toward,
Oh, in Perry. You talking about in Perryopolis?
Yeah, it was in Perry.
Yeah, where it always has been, where the elementary school is now.
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
well, it's a parking lot there now where,
Right.
what do they call it?
Commodore Hall.
That's it. Commodore Hall.
Well, where did you attend school? Where did you attend elementary school?
In the building right directly below it, below Commodore Hall.
Okay.
That's the oldest building there now, and it was a new one then. And I went through the first 8 grades there. I'll take it back. Our 4th year, I don't know why there must have been a open space up in the high school building, and my class was in there. Had Ruth Powell, and I think that was one of her first years of teaching. And it was nice up there. Of course, the high school people. We were just little twerps, and
See, it must have changed from your time to my time because I went to Star Junction Elementary School. That's what you
oh,
went to,
gee,
right?
yeah.
I went 4th, 5th, and 6th grade there. I went 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the,
Chris went
Right.
up
in
there.
the, yeah.
Yeah,
Fraser.
it's Low Commodore Hall in the,
The building that's not there anymore.
Right, yeah, that's Commodore Hall.
Commodore Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where you had high school in Commodore Hall, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 4 years over
The
there.
upstairs.
Yeah. Well, those schools really, but there was one room where I think was always the 4th grade or something like that, and what a little tale to tell there. During noontime, you know these paper airplanes you used to make,
Mm-hmm.
a nice sheet of paper and fold it, and so a bunch of us were doing that during lunchtime, of course. Now, you don't do that during school. But I sailed one and it went right up around and right behind the picture. Well, I couldn't get that whole thing, but Ruth Paul saw it. Oh, she went out, she got a ladder, went over there, and picked that plane up and brought it back to me.
Wow.
Never would have dreamed that, but there it was.
Yeah, I thought you would have been in trouble. What grade were you in when this happened?
Oh, I was, I don't know, 4th, 5th grade, somewhere in there.
Tell me, what activities that you participated in during your school years, like sports or music or church related or whatever.
Well, not much of anything because we were on the farm.
I hear you.
Well, then at least we worked. And also,
I hear you.
well, of course, now you jump on a motor and go. But, well,
Okay.
and then, of course, 1943, I went in the Army. And, well, I did work Christie Park for the better part of a year. That time, of course, they were making shells and bombs and that sort of stuff then. I don't even know whether it's there anymore or not. Down right along with Yucca, we were going into not Fayette City, but some town down here.
Menneson?
No, it's way down toward Pittsburgh.
Oh, you mean like maybe Elizabeth
Uh,
or toward
Shucks.
Duquesne?
I know that as well as I know my own name, but I don't really have.
Pleasant.
I know my dad worked at Christie Park as well. Getting back to high school or school, what teacher would you say had the greatest influence in your life?
Well, the one I liked best, and I really think she was the best teacher, was Miss Cook. She was a good teacher. She put things in outlaw form where if you, not outlaw, outline, if you did the outline like she gave it, you were going to get a good grade if you learned it. No problem at
She's a
all.
high school teacher?
Yeah. Yeah, she was a good one.
And what subject?
When it come time for, final exam at the end of the year, I never had to take it because I knew it all. I'll probably forget it, but I'd get an A on
What subject?
every time because that was easy to learn.
What
You write it
subject did
down.
Miss Cook teach?
Yeah,
What subject?
yeah.
Was it English?
English.
No, what subject did this teacher?
Oh, it was what they called civics there.
Civics. Okay. So you graduated then from Perry Lower Tyrone High School,
1941.
1941.
Uh-huh. Yep. Then I got a job in Christie Park there for about a year. And then, of course, things that happened. And I went in the Army in 42.
Is there anything that you kind of talked a little about it before that you regret asking your parents? Like if you had one question that you could ask them that you didn't ask them, what might that be?
Well, my mother, no one ever could ask for a better mother than she was. She was compassionate. She did the work. Whatever had to be done around the house, she did. Of course, now when we grew up, we got into doing a little more too. But she was a good cook, kept a good house clean, and she, she and Dad got along pretty well, but I think, of course, he was the boss, and there wasn't any doubt about it. But she went along with it, and everything worked well. Till, well, of course, I think it was about 1950 or something like that when Ave died. That just almost killed my dad. He was never the same after that. Now, he did go to Potter County. That was second heaven to him. And, I remember the year after Lois and I were married, that next summer, 48 that'd be, he took Lois and I up to Potter County. And that was our first trip up there. And it was impressive because there was a lot of deer up around there then.
Sure.
And we saw a lot of deer up there. And of course we did love that. And, but after they died.
What did she die of, by the way?
Pardon?
What was her cause of death?
Well, actually, she was what you would call the one that caught all the bugs and the diseases and stuff. As a girl, she was in high school as far as that's concerned. I think she's a junior about that. And she got what they called rheumatic fever. And that was exactly the same thing that I got later. But they didn't call it that then. They called it the mitral valve bad. But I don't know, she was fortunate, or she did things the right way. What doctor said she did. And anyway, that healed, and it got to where the heart worked perfectly well. And of course, that was well, during the war then. She had a job over in Monessen. Page Steel and Wire was the name of the place. And well, she worked there till after the war, and then got a job at the post office up there. And she was still working there when she died. Boy, that was a sad one.
How old was she when she died?